Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful today. Please keep this a secret. Lee takes Sheila to her hidden location where she hides Luna. Lee tells Sheila the secret of living Luna, but tells Finn not to. Sheila Sharp might learn a living Luna Nozawa secret from Lee Finnegan. Will Lee eventually come clean and caution Sheila against telling John Finnegan the truth? There was some agreement between Lee and Sheila regarding Luna on the July 22nd episode of B&B. Lee implied that Sheila was the only one mourning for Luna in a similar way to her as Sheila expressed surprise at them finding solace in one another. It appears to Sheila that only Lee is concerned about Luna's terrible destiny. Sheila is therefore clinging to this new friendship with Lee, which has the potential to develop into a full-fledged partnership should Lee's secret come to light. Lee is obviously hiding something, even though she claims that Luna is dead. When Sheila inquired as to whether there would be any sort of service, Lee's enigmatic response made it clear. The expression on Lee's face belied her claim that it was already finished and resolved. Sheila might not be aware of all the secrecy just yet, but that might change in the future. Lee might decide she needs an ally because she clearly has an alive Luna hidden off-screen somewhere. It would undoubtedly take a lot of labor to care for Luna while she heals, so perhaps Sheila could help, especially given her experience as a nurse. Given how deeply Sheila is grieving this loss, a part of Lee would feel sorry for her. Lee might decide to keep Sheila updated on Luna's survival as she might find it difficult to shake this gloom. Sheila might, of course, take matters into her own hands as an alternative. Sheila may decide to look into it if she finally starts to suspect that Lee is concealing something. Sheila might pretend to be a detective and track down Lee's Luna hiding place. Lee's complete confession and her warning that Sheila cannot inform Finn or anybody else that Luna isn't permanently gone may go either way. In any event, Sheila's involvement in Lee's Luna cover-up makes logical, so keep checking back to see if she receives any updates on any exciting developments. Lee Finnegan and Sheila Sharp over the presumed death of Luna Nozawa hangs precariously over the Bold and the Beautiful, charged with the volatile potential for a seismic confession that could irrevocably alter lives and ignite fresh chaos. Lee, bearing the crushing, solitary burden of a monumental secret, that Luna is not dead but hidden away, recovering under her clandestine care, finds herself in an agonizingly ironic position. The only person sharing the depth of her manufactured grief is her sworn enemy, the woman whose very existence has been a source of trauma for her family, Sheila Sharp. Their shared moments of mourning, born from Lee's necessary deception, have created a bizarre and dangerous intimacy. Sheila, starved for genuine connection and drowning in a sorrow she believes is uniquely understood by Lee, clings to this nascent bond with a desperate intensity, mistaking Lee's carefully constructed performance of loss for authentic solidarity. This very intensity, however, becomes the crucible in which Lee's secret is most vulnerable. Sheila's raw, unfiltered anguish, her lament that no one else seems to care about Luna's grim fate, strikes a dissonant chord within Lee, who knows the painful truth that renders Sheila's despair both misplaced and profoundly pitiable. The weight of maintaining the elaborate lie alone is becoming increasingly unsustainable, the logistical demands of secretly nursing Luna back to health, likely requiring constant vigilance, medical care, and isolation, present a Herculean task for Lee operating solo. It's within this pressure cooker of exhaustion, isolation, and unexpected, unwanted empathy for her nemesis that the unthinkable scenario takes root. Lee might choose to confess the truth to Sheila Sharp. The pragmatic calculus is undeniable. Sheila possesses invaluable skills as a former nurse, skills desperately needed for Luna's recovery that Lee herself may lack. Leveraging Sheila's medical expertise could be the difference between Luna's survival and a tragic relapse, a risk Lee cannot afford after going to such extreme lengths to save her. Furthermore, witnessing Sheila's authentic, debilitating grief, a stark contrast to the more contained or differently focused mourning of others, might erode Lee's defenses, fostering a dangerous flicker of compassion. Seeing Sheila utterly broken by a loss that isn't even real, trapped in a darkness Lee deliberately perpetuated, could become an unbearable psychological burden, pushing Lee towards confession as a twisted form of mercy, a way to alleviate Sheila's suffering even as it plunges them both into deeper peril. However, the confession would be far from an act of open trust. It would be a desperate gambit, delivered with the ferocity of a cornered animal and immediately shackled by a non-negotiable, life-or-death warning. Sheila must never, under any circumstances, reveal the truth to John Finnegan or anyone else. Lee would understand the nuclear implications instantly. Finn's reaction, upon discovering not only Luna's survival but his mother's role in deceiving him and conspiring with Sheila, would be catastrophic, shattering their fragile reconciliation and likely severing their relationship permanently. Steffi's fury would be incalculable, and the collateral damage to family bonds, professional reputations, especially Lee's as a respected doctor, and Luna's own fragile recovery would be immense. Therefore, Lee's confession would be a Faustian bargain offered under duress. Sheila gains the miraculous knowledge that the young woman she mourns lives, and in return, she must become Lee's silent, complicit partner in the ongoing deception, actively participating in the lie while suppressing her own tumultuous emotions about the revelation. This path, however, is fraught with near-certain disaster. Sheila Sharp, historically governed by volatile impulses and obsessive attachments, is perhaps the least reliable secret keeper in Los Angeles. Her history of manipulation, blackmail, and violent outbursts makes her a terrifyingly unstable confidant. Could the woman who shot Finn and Steffi, who terrorized Lee's family for years, truly be trusted to maintain this earth-shattering secret, especially when it involves Finn, the son whose love and acceptance she craves above all else? The temptation to use this knowledge to manipulate Finn, to insert herself back into his life as the bearer of good news, or simply to lose control in a moment of emotional overwhelm, is astronomically high. Lee would be placing the entire fragile edifice of her secret, Luna's safety, and her relationship with her son directly into the hands of her most dangerous adversary, gambling that shared concern for Luna and fear of mutual destruction could forge a temporary, uneasy truce. Alternatively, the path to confession might be forced, not chosen. Lee's behavior, already marked by cryptic utterances and evasions, like her terse, unconvincing claim that Luna's service was already done and handled, accompanied by a telltale expression betraying her deceit, could inevitably spark Sheila's notoriously sharp, paranoid instincts. If Sheila's grief begins to curdle into suspicion, her obsessive nature could easily shift towards investigation. The woman who once stalked and schemed her way into the Forrester mansion wouldn't hesitate to follow Lee, to poke and prod, perhaps even to discover Luna's hiding place through her own intrusive actions. Confronted with undeniable proof, Lee would have no choice but to confess, issuing the same desperate warning: silence, especially regarding Finn, is mandatory. This path, while removing Lee's agency, still culminates in the same perilous alliance, born from exposure rather than reluctant trust. Whether through Lee's calculated desperation or Sheila's intrusive discovery, the revelation of Luna's survival to Sheila Sharp is a narrative powder keg. It promises a complex, high-stakes dynamic where sworn enemies are bound by a life-altering secret concerning a young woman they both care for in vastly different ways. It forces Sheila into an impossible position: hold the miraculous truth and gain Lee's wary dependence, but forever deny Finn the joy of knowing Luna lives, or succumb to her nature and risk destroying everything, including her newfound, fragile connection to Lee and potentially Luna's safety, in a bid for Finn's gratitude or attention. For Lee, it's the ultimate test of her judgment under extreme pressure, risking everything she holds dear on the slim chance that the monster she knows can be controlled. The looming confession isn't just about sharing a secret, it's about forging a pact with the devil she knows, praying that their shared, twisted investment in Luna's well-being will be enough to keep Sheila silent, all while dreading the inevitable moment when Sheila Sharp, true to form, might shatter the fragile illusion and unleash hell by whispering the truth to Finn. The fallout from that single potential breach promises not just heartbreak, but an explosion capable of tearing the Finnegan family apart forever. Luna's funeral has already been completed and managed. According to Lee Finnegan's lies, Luna Nozawa's burial had already been completed and handled. Let's discuss Tuesday's B&B episode's surprises and hidden gems. Lee landed at Il Giardino and ended up becoming close to Sheila Sharp, who was the only person who appeared to be concerned about Luna's death. Deacon Sharp harbored resentment toward Luna for her terrible crimes, even though Sheila and Lee did not think she was a monster. Nevertheless, Lee blamed Poppy Nozawa for Luna's neglect and believed that she ought to have received the assistance she needs sooner rather than later. When Sheila finally inquired as to whether Luna would receive a service, Lee responded that it had already been completed and taken care of. Sheila wished she could have bid Luna farewell, but Lee seemed to be concealing something. All of this is leading up to B&B's shocking admission that Luna is still alive, so viewers should keep an eye out for that in the upcoming episodes. Let's discuss Eric Forrester and a promotional video he played during Tuesday's performance, which featured Brooke Logan and Ridge Forrester. Brooke admitted that it evoked both happy and sad feelings because it exalted Italy and earlier Forrester designs. This time, Italy would be different because Ridge was seeing Taylor Hayes instead of Brooke. Ridge objected, claiming he wasn't invited on their business trip, when Brooke suggested that Nick might accompany them to Naples. After a while, Eric surrounded Ridge by himself and threatened to take Brooke away from him if he didn't get back together with his true love. Nick put on the charm and talked about everything he wanted to show Brooke in Naples as soon as they met in the design studio. As he lusciously talked about building a boat and expressed his desire to take Brooke out on the sea, Nick caressed her arm. Afterwards, Brooke went back to Ridge and mentioned that she might enjoy this vacation to Italy more if Nick was around. Brooke saw no reason not to move on with Nick if Ridge had done so with Taylor. Ridge pretended that he didn't mind Brooke moving on and that Nick wasn't the right man for her. Ridge felt deceived by her taking the CEO position during the takeover, so Brooke finally brought up the misunderstanding that got them to this point. Now that it was all over, Brooke was prepared to overlook all that had transpired with Taylor in exchange for Ridge simply returning to her. Brooke suggested that she would be bringing Nick to Italy unless Ridge took advantage of this final opportunity. Lee Finnegan, whose stoic facade cracked just enough around the edges to reveal the unsettling lie beneath her words, Luna Nozawa's funeral was already done and handled. This blunt, almost dismissive statement, delivered to a surprisingly empathetic Sheila Sharp at Il Giardino, wasn't just a piece of information, it was a carefully constructed shield, and narratively desperately needed to control in the immediate, chaotic aftermath of Luna's overdose. The profound irony lay in the unlikely pairing bound by this shared, albeit differently motivated, grief: Lee, Luna's biological mother whose relationship was fraught with complexity, regret, and a recent, devastating estrangement, and Sheila, the reformed, villainess whose own history of monstrous acts somehow didn't blind her to the tragedy of a young woman lost. Their unexpected bonding session over espressos became a poignant island of shared, quiet mourning in a sea of judgment, a stark contrast to Deacon Sharp's hardened stance, his grudge against Luna for her past horrible crimes, framing him and assaulting Sheila, forming an impenetrable barrier to compassion, leaving him firmly outside this fragile circle of shared sorrow. Lee, grappling with her own tsunami of guilt and regret, deftly redirected the blame onto Poppy Nozawa, Luna's adoptive mother, painting a picture of profound neglect that became her central thesis. Luna should have been given the help she needed early on. This wasn't merely criticism, it was Lee's anguished lament for the intervention that never came, the support system that failed, the childhood trauma, Poppy's addiction, that arguably set Luna on her perilous path. It was an attempt to absolve herself of recent failures by spotlighting foundational ones, a desperate search for root causes in the wreckage. When Sheila, perhaps seeking her own form of closure or simply expressing a genuine, unexpected flicker of human connection to the troubled girl, tentatively asked about a service, Lee's response was the chillingly efficient, emotionally sterile pronouncement, "Done and handled." The swiftness, the finality, the utter lack of detail, the way Lee delivered it, screamed concealment. Her eyes darted, her posture tightened, and a palpable tension radiated from her, screaming that this wasn't closure but camouflage. Sheila's wistful, "I wish I could have said goodbye," hung in the air, a poignant counterpoint to Lee's evasion, highlighting the profound lack of ceremony, community, or basic human acknowledgement surrounding Luna's passing. This meticulously crafted lie, however, isn't designed to last, it's narrative dynamite with a very short fuse. Lee's entire demeanor and the sheer unbelievability of such a rushed, secretive disposal are undeniable signals that this is all building towards B&B's imminent, game-changing revelation: Luna is still alive. Lee's handling of the funeral is almost certainly her frantic cover-up while she works to save her daughter in secret, making Sheila the unwitting first audience for a deception that will soon rock Los Angeles and have fans glued to their screens awaiting the inevitable, explosive shocker when Luna inevitably resurfaces, forcing Lee to confront the tangled web she's woven and the raw, unprocessed grief she prematurely tried to bury. Simultaneously, miles away in the opulent world of Forrester Creations, a different kind of emotional storm was brewing, masterfully orchestrated by the patriarch, Eric Forrester. In a deliberate move laden with nostalgia and subtle manipulation, Eric gathered Brooke Logan and Ridge Forrester to unveil a promotional video for their upcoming pivotal trip to Naples, Italy. The visuals were a potent cocktail of sun-drenched Italian landscapes and iconic, archival Forrester designs, deliberately curated to evoke powerful memories. Brooke, ever perceptive to emotional undercurrents, immediately acknowledged the bittersweet impact. It stirred up both good memories and sad ones. Her words were a direct reference to the golden era of bridge, their passionate history intertwined with the very soul of Forrester Creations, much of it forged in romantic Italian settings. But the present reality cast a long, cold shadow over the sunlit memories. Italy wouldn't be the same this time around, Brooke pointedly observed, the unspoken reason hanging heavily in the design office air. Ridge was with Taylor Hayes, not Brooke. The promotional video became less a business tool and more a painful reminder of what was lost, a visual representation of Ridge's current emotional allegiance. Brooke, strategically shifting the dynamic, then floated the possibility of Nick Marone joining them in Naples. Ridge's reaction was instantaneous and predictably territorial. He balked and said he wasn't invited on their business trip. This knee-jerk dismissal, cloaked in professionalism, was pure Ridge defensiveness, a clear signal that Nick's presence represented a threat to his carefully reconstructed life with Taylor, even if he refused to admit any lingering claim over Brooke. Eric, ever the puppet master observing his family's drama, later cornered Ridge alone, delivering a stark, fatherly warning cutting through the denials: you could lose Brooke to Nick if you don't reunite with your true love. Eric's words resonated because they acknowledged the precariousness of Ridge's current stance. His indecision and emotional distance were creating a vacuum Nick was all too eager to fill. This warning proved prophetic moments later when Nick met Brooke in the design office. He wasn't subtle, he was in full charm offensive mode, gushing over everything he wanted to show her in Naples. His touch was deliberate, possessive, stroking Brooke's arm as he seductively described building a boat and his desire to take her out on the water. It was a masterclass in romantic suggestion, painting a picture of intimacy and escape far removed from business meetings and tense encounters with Ridge. Later, Brooke, emboldened by Nick's attentions and Ridge's dismissiveness, confronted Ridge directly. Pointing out that she might have a better time on this Italy trip if Nick were there, she wielded his own relationship with Taylor as justification. Since Ridge moved on with Taylor, Brooke didn't see why she shouldn't do the same with Nick. It was a logical, albeit emotionally charged, counterpoint designed to challenge Ridge's hypocrisy. Ridge, scrambling to maintain the moral high ground while clearly unsettled, retreated into criticism. He acted like he had no problem with Brooke moving on, he just didn't think Nick was the man for her. This classic deflection attempted to mask his personal discomfort as concern for Brooke's well-being, a transparent tactic Brooke easily saw through. Pushing past his objections, Brooke then cut to the heart of their fractured relationship, the misunderstanding that led them here. She referenced the betrayal Ridge felt when she took the CEO position during the recent Spectre Fashions takeover attempt, a decision she made under extreme duress and which Ridge catastrophically misinterpreted as an ultimate betrayal, driving him straight back to Taylor. Now all that was over, Brooke asserted, offering a sweeping olive branch. She was willing to forgive everything that happened with Taylor if Ridge would just come back to her. This was no mere plea, it was a powerful ultimatum wrapped in vulnerability. This was Ridge's last chance, she declared, the implication crystal clear, or else Brooke hinted she'd be taking Nick to Italy. Her words weren't just about a trip, they were about her future, her heart, and her refusal to remain in emotional limbo while Ridge enjoyed the comforts of his relationship with Taylor. Brooke was forcing Ridge's hand, demanding he choose, truly choose, between the past he was clinging to with Taylor and the potential future he once fought for with her, with the very real, very charming specter of Nick Marone waiting in the wings to claim what Ridge seemed unwilling to fight for. The secrets, the lies like Lee's hasty handling of Luna's non-existent funeral, the surprising bond between Lee and Sheila amidst tragedy, the potent nostalgia weaponized by Eric, and the high-stakes romantic brinkmanship between Brooke, Ridge, and Nick. Tuesday's episode masterfully wove these threads into a rich tapestry of human frailty, desperate deception, and the relentless, complicated pursuit of love and redemption, leaving viewers breathless for the inevitable confrontations and revelations just over the horizon.